Hey everybody, welcome back to the B Channel podcast, where my objective is to bless, edify, and encourage others to live their best lives. And today's topic is tackling time management, and my guest is Aliese Halcomb. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, yeah. So my name is Elise, and I have my business has gone through a lot of changes, but the most recently we are I help moms with young kids find peace in their life, and a lot of that is through time management, creating rhythms, delegating out, and knowing your why and what you're doing. Because if you don't know why you're doing it, it's really easy to not do the things that are the most important to you. So we decide, make decisions, and follow through with those things.
Okay, I will definitely be digging more into that because that sounds like we need to tackle that. Oh, so what brought you into this field of time management?
Well, actually, it was kind of just thrust upon me, I guess, is what it is. I had been running a business for a while, and then I had my first son. And my husband and I had decided long ago, before we had kids, that once we did have kids, I was going to stay home and not, I wasn't basically going to work outside of the home. So I had to decide how to make both things work. And because of that, I put in a lot of strategies, figured out a lot of things that allow me to only really work when he's napping or sleeping. Occasionally, there's some other times that I do work, but run a business but still keep him first, keep my priorities right. So because of that, I was like, other people can do this. If I can do it, anybody can do it, right? I'm not an organized person by nature, but it was something that needed to be figured out. So I did. And so here I am. Mhm.
Yes, they always say that necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you just had to do it.
Yes.
So, what has been the hardest part of this time management journey for you?
I would say that, especially with the season of life that we're in, like my son has just turned 2, actually about a week and a half ago, and
Oh,
so
happy
it's just
birthday.
yeah, he's so great. But it's the fact that the seasons change so often, and so if you have little kids or kids in general, I assume I don't have any older kids, but the fact that their lives are changing so quickly, and so every time something changes that you have to adapt to, and so it's learning to be flexible and kind of go with the flow and create rhythms and time management systems that work well, but be willing to adjust those as necessary. So that has been difficult and definitely a learning. It's a skill to learn. So
Yes, I feel like we all have to, if you're doing anything in life, even in the realm of caregiving, you
mhm.
definitely have to have time management skills
Yes.
because if not, something is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I've realized too, one of the things that I realized is that you cannot like hold up like too many plates. One plate is going to fall
Yep.
in this little tussle that you're doing, like you're trying to juggle everything. Something's going to fall. So it's like I've gotten into this practice of, I know what I'm going to do because I like to have the calendar, have it, color coded and stuff, like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But then it's like other stuff that I want to do. So I'll be like, okay, I take my little notepad. I don't know if you can see it, but I
Mhm.
take the little notepad and I say, hey, let me figure out what really needs to happen, and
Yep.
kind of just, be flexible with it. Okay, that's not gonna happen today. Cross that out.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like you kind of have to edit as you go. Like, yes, have a working idea, like you said, but be like, okay, let's be willing to
Yeah,
like move some things around and just say what can be negotiable
absolutely.
is
Yeah.
non-negotiable in the day.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a great way to look at it, is to just be able to like look at all of your tasks and decide like what's actually important and what did I just kind of want to do. What won't make the world fall apart, right? Like
Oh,
what
that's
can I push to
good.
tomorrow? um, and yeah, being flexible is important, and I think it's great that you're aware that if you add something to your spinning plates, that you have to take a spinning plate away. You can't just keep adding. That is when we fall apart and we become overwhelmed. If you add stuff to your life, then something else has to give. Uh, if you're full, I mean, if you have nothing going on, then add all kinds of stuff. But if you have a lot going on, like
Yeah, who is
most
that
people
person?
do, huh?
I
I
said,
don't know
who is
them.
that person?
I
Comment
don't know
below
them.
if you're that person.
Yeah, right. I don't know them either.
We'll wait.
Maybe they're out there. I don't know. But most likely, if you decide to start working out or something, like that's great. But maybe that means you have to give up watching TV as much as you did, or scrolling on social media. I mean, you could be giving up something that's not very good for you. Like that'd be cool. But it may be that you have to give up something else that you like as well. So it's just something's got to give. We all have the same amount of time, and you got to decide what's the most important in there.
Yes, you're so right about that because there have been so many times where I've been like, I know I need to stretch. I know I need to do some yoga. And
Right?
it just seemed like it's so like much when you think about doing like 30 minutes. I was like, okay, maybe I do like 10, 15 minutes
Yeah.
and just do it. That's
Just
the hardest part, really, because we
yes.
procrastinate,
Uh-huh.
because it's like that makes things worse. Because it's like if you're already crunched and then you start procrastinating, woo, child,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole rabbit hole right there.
Right.
But this is a perfect segue for me because I'm like, listen, we need some practical tips. Give us busy people, the caregivers, the other moms out there like you, some practical tips for how to manage our time.
Okay, so something that I like to do is create blocks of schedules. And block schedule is very, like, it's a buzzword that's out there. But what I mean by that is there are things in your day that don't normally change, right? Like you probably wake up at a similar time, you probably eat lunch at a similar time, and there's other like things in your day that are pretty standard. Maybe they change, but not usually. And those are the things that I would anchor to, right? I would decide what you want to get done in the morning, right? Say between when you wake up and you eat breakfast. If you don't eat breakfast immediately, I don't know what you do, right? And then, or between when your kids wake up and lunch, like what tasks do you need to accomplish in there? And then now you have given your list, which is, a mile long, you've broken it down into a smaller, manageable amount of tasks to do in that block. And so you say, these are my morning tasks. They're the things I'm going to do in the morning. And these are my evening tasks. And these are the things I'm going to do in the evening. And you can break that up into whatever sections work specifically for your day. But once it's evening, if you didn't do, I mean, like if there's things that make your world fall apart, like do those morning tasks, but you do those first, right? Like in the morning, whatever it is that's most important, you get those things done, like we said earlier. And as you do this, you'll realize what realistically you can accomplish. We always think that we can do more in a day than we really can. And so as you continue to do it, you'll realize like, okay, maybe I can't do these 8 tasks, but maybe I can do 6, right? And you'll move the stuff around as needed. And so it's being willing to be flexible, like we talked about earlier, and moving stuff around and trying new things and knowing that it's not going to be perfect the first time that you do it. And it probably won't be perfect in a couple of weeks, but it'll be better. So just keep doing it because it will give you freedom and peace as you work on it. And you'll get better at it because it is a skill. You'll get better at it.
Yes. And I don't know if this is something that you've noticed, but sometimes when it comes to simple things like chores, it can be so overwhelming, especially when it's like a mountain of dishes and you're like,
oh my gosh, yes.
How am I gonna do this? Am I gonna do this today? So
right.
I really tapped into this whole idea that the wee hours are my superpower time. That's like my power hour time. That's my time, right? So really lean into that. What times are good for you, right?
That's great. Yes.
And also break things down, like you were saying, like the little blocks, like the little sub blocks and things. So like even like it took me 2 days, but the dishes got done.
That's right.
So don't feel like you have to do everything all in one day. That's what I had to break up with that idea.
That's absolutely true. And Yeah, I love that. You're right. Find out what the best time for you is and get those things done at that time. And that is part of the process of just kind of starting and learning about yourself, like you said. That's really good. I love that. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and then like uninterrupted time too. That's
Mhm.
the thing. Because if you're trying to study your word, you're trying to study the word of God, or you're trying to do something that you're passionate about,
Mhm.
you have to find a time when those littles are quiet or when you not take care of that person. Everybody sleep, right?
Yep, that's right. That's true. Yeah, so yeah, definitely finding that time and what that looks like. And if you're not alone, like if you don't live by yourself or you're not a single parent and you have a spouse or a family member that's helping you caregive or take care of your kids, um, then it's having that communication with them and being very clear about what you need and finding out what they need as well. As an example, like my husband and I, we get up at 5:30 in the morning, and
Woo!
we get up early. But that's because, well, he has to be at work at 7, and but our son also gets up at like 5:45 or 6. Like he is an early
Mm.
riser, right?
Okay.
So, but I don't get him out of bed because we have had a discussion about it. And so we both get up at 5:30. Nolan, my husband, he gets ready, starts getting ready. And then when our son wakes up, he goes and gets him. But in that time between 5:30 and 6:15, I have got a cup of coffee and I'm sitting in our bed reading. And that is the time that I have with the Lord. And so that's what's worked for us. And only works because we talked about it. And so if
Ooh.
there's something you need, talk to your spouse, talk to your family members, talk to the people around you that can help you because you don't have to do this by yourself.
That is so good what you say. You when you think about time management,
Mhm.
you always think of it, like as this singular thing. You don't think about
Mhm.
it as being attached to your relationships and
Yeah,
in terms of knowing that there's a necessity. Like you have to communicate what you
absolutely.
need and say, hey, I need this little hour. Can you
Mhm.
just, handle whatever needs to be handled for an hour? Or I can't get up early. Maybe, or I'll stay up late and you get some rest or something. You have to talk about it.
Absolutely. Like, especially as believers, like we are a community. And if you're in a family unit, like you're a team, you're not by yourself. Like, and living, God did not intend us to be alone. And so we should lean into that community that He gave us, whatever that looks like.
Yes. I don't know how many people out there are like in that same boat with me, but it takes me a long time. Like I'm that person, I'll be like, listen, I'm gonna do it all by myself. But we need each other. Like you realize it, and then like I feel like I'm getting to that place. I'm like, I need help. Like
Hmm.
or just like kind of give me some grace or something. You
Absolutely.
have to learn. I didn't know that all of that was a part of time management. So you really shed some light on it for me,
Oh,
like,
good.
because I never thought about it like that. So great job on that. Great job
Thank
on
you. Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, because we're out here struggling. Like
Mhm.
some of us are like underwater. So it's really important that we know that reach out.
Reach out. It's important. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And more than that, or not more than that, on top of that, know that you don't have to do it by yourself and you also don't have to do everything. Like everything is not for you. God did not create us with the capacity to handle everything. Like the community that we were just talking about, like some things are for other people. And if you take those things from them, then they're not doing their part. And you don't want to do that.
Oh.
So
That is so good because we all are gifted for certain things. And if you're out here trying to do what they're supposed to do and you are not great at that thing, you are going to waste time.
yes, you're definitely going to waste time and you're taking away from them. And th- if you do literally everything, especially with children, right? We
Hmm.
are called to raise them in the Lord and send them out to be functioning adults, right? And if you never let your children do anything, then how are they going to be functioning
Right.
adults? So that's something that I'm learning. He's only 2. I don't know, for real, but we're working on it. And so that's the
Yeah.
goal. I want to send him out into the world and know how to do laundry and cook dinner.
Oh, yes. Those are pivotal skills. They
Right?
need to
I
like
think
bring
so.
home ec back
Uh-huh.
into
Agreed.
school so kids can learn that type of stuff.
Mhm.
Yes, that's so true because with like sometimes you'll meet grown adults that don't know how to do certain things
Yeah.
because somebody always did it, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to really try to lean into that fostering that independence. But
Mhm.
like you said, it depends on their age. So as he gets
Yes.
older, there'll be more things he can do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's pivotal though. But what was the biggest blessing that you think that you have received from learning how to steward your time well?
I would say that it is the peace and freedom in my mind, honestly.
Mm.
Because if you manage your time well and you steward it, you don't take on things that aren't your responsibility, you're not fretting all the time about what's next and how you're going to get it done. Um,
Mm.
so it really is freedom to say, uh, to know what's next and what's coming. And I think that freedom and peace that you have overflows into your family. And as wives and mothers and sisters and daughters, like, we have a big role in the way that our families look and the way that they feel. And so, honestly, that peace, like really just knowing that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to do it well.
Ooh, I love that. So many things there. Like I love what you said because it's really a trickle down effect because we're supposed to set the tone
Mhm.
because it's like we are the ones that's like what do they call it? I think they call it that the husband is like the thermostat or something like that. What do they say? And the wife is she's like she change. You know what they say. Like the one person sets the tone, and
Yeah.
like it just the other person is just like kind of controlling the temperature.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like we just
Fine.
we got to know that like what we're doing is affecting other people, how we're showing up.
Absolutely.
And like I really just want to touch on that, like how you were saying that when we don't do what we're supposed to do, or we're like rushed up and being frazzled and everything, that affects everybody else's mood because we didn't do what we were supposed to do. Like that's another thing, like doing what you're supposed to do
Mhm.
and not doing what you're not supposed to do.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's so many nuances that we
Mhm.
could really get into for real because it's like you just really have to just really have discernment and have wisdom about what is most important, how
Absolutely.
to spend your time.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And the way to do that is not complicated,
Mm.
but I wouldn't necessarily call it easy either, right? So the way to do
Right.
that is really just being grounded in Christ and knowing who you are. Because if your foundation is in Jesus, then you're not worried about what everyone else is thinking. Like, are you doing enough? I think that's a super easy trap for us to fall into. Is like,
Ooh.
am I getting my self-worth from the things that I'm doing, or am I getting it from Jesus? Because
Ooh.
if it's not if it's not from the Lord, then it's not good. And we just have to know, and that's a lot of being self-aware. And
Yes. I love that. You said when we get our self worth from what we do or from God. Because a
yeah.
lot of times we get in that trap of being human
Mhm.
doings when we're supposed to be human beings
Right.
and
I
knowing
like
that
that.
just being is enough.
Yes.
God loves us, whether we're
Absolutely.
doing something or we're sitting still.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. So just knowing that about ourselves and how easy of a trap it is to fall into, and to think like, am I doing this so that other people see it and think that I'm doing a good job, or am I doing it because it's what God has called me to at this moment and I want to do it well? Because we are called to do things
Mm.
well, but we're not called to do them for
Right.
people that are watching. We are called to serve people, but not for observers, just for the
Right.
Lord and for that person.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
have to watch our motives, and
Absolutely.
that'll get you wrapped up too into wasting your time because you're trying to measure up to what you think other people want you to be,
Yeah,
and you'll
absolutely.
end up wasting your life trying
That's
to do
true.
things
Yes.
that's not for you. And you
Mhm.
have to know, like, that's where all this comes together because we have to know, okay, what's my gift? Like, take some time to ask God, like, okay, what's my gift?
Yes.
What do you see in me? What have you placed in me?
Mhm.
Where is my time best spent? And
Absolutely.
in a season by season basis, taking an account of that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And so being grounded in Christ and asking Him, like, where do you want me to be? Why am I doing these things? Like, what's most important? And doing them because of that and not because of trying to be something else and add value that's not adding, right? It's not adding. Um, that's super important. And like I said, like, not complicated. Like, we all know that as believers, right? But like, it's so easy to fall into that trap and into that,
Yeah.
pitfall and cycle. And so just knowing your why of the reason why you're doing what you're doing is big, and not just talking about your value like I was talking about earlier, but just like whenever, I don't know if you or your audience knows anything about Dave Ramsey, right? He's always
Oh
talking about
yeah.
like know your why, like the reason you're getting out of debt. You also want to know that why are you deciding the things that you're deciding? Like, what's the most important in your life? And those are the things that you filter through the decisions of, do I take on this new task? Do I let this go? Do I delegate this out? Because if your priorities are the Lord, your family, your business, or, like in your case, like obviously the Lord, but then like you taking care of your being a caregiver, like that's a big deal and that takes up a lot of your time. And so you get to decide, because that is so high on your priority list, like what other things can and can't be done, you know? And so we filter all of our like everything that we're asked to be done, like people are asking of us, or that we just want to do. We decide yes or no based on if it's good for us in this season, and if the Lord has called us to it in this season.
Yeah, I found that if it's for you, you'll have the peace that you were talking about. If it's
Yeah.
for you, because if it's not, then you'll be all frazzled and anxious. And like you said, okay, what's the next thing? You just ripping and running, and
Right.
you're just exhausted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want that. I don't know about your audience, but I
No.
don't want that.
No.
I feel like I'm over that, and it's some there's this myth, there's this thing that we have to just be on a hamster wheel and just be constantly productive. And I'm just like,
Yes.
listen, I'm in a different place. I want that soul rest. I want that Sabbath.
Hmm.
That's vitally important. Even
Absolutely.
if it's not Sunday, y'all, take a
Yeah.
day, take an hour to just breathe, just be, do something that's like, it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to get to the next rung on the ladder. Like, just
Hmm.
relax, watch a
Yes.
movie, read a book.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Calm down. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, that's what I had to learn because
Me too.
sometimes you'll get intense, you get laser focused, and then you just find yourself exhausted.
Yes, absolutely. And if you find yourself in that place, then it's definitely the time to take a step back. And we're always running and we're always trying to do the next thing, but taking that step back will really, in the long run, make everything so much better. I know that the idea of pausing is difficult for most everyone. Definitely for me, I don't want to pause. I got things to do, right? And so, but taking a step back and setting yourself up for success, setting up those Sabbaths, setting up the times that are best for your family and for the people around you, having those conversations we talked about earlier, they take time, but they will help you in the long run. And you will have so much more freedom and so much more peace because you did that work. And let me tell you, you'll probably have to do it more than once, because we all fall back into that like rat race rhythm where we're like, what have I done? How did I get here? Like, let's do it again. Let's take a step back. Let's ask the Lord and figure it out one more time.
Yeah, I really agree with that because it's like time is our greatest commodity. We can't get it back. We
Hmm.
have to be just really, conscious of how we're investing it. But it's hard. And sometimes, like you said, we have to do that reset. Like, hey, maybe I just need to take a breath. Like,
Hmm.
it's okay. Like for me, I'm like, listen, Saturdays and Sundays, I try to chill out. During the week I do stuff, but that's kind of like Saturday, Sunday. No, I'm not gonna be like all over the socials and just,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Hmm.
So you gotta have your boundaries. That's
Absolutely.
a part of time management too, because you
Yes.
can't say I'm working every day. It's like
Right.
always be available.
No, absolutely not. Yes, boundaries are super important. After you know why you're doing what you're doing, setting up healthy boundaries around them, that will keep you in check, right? Like what you were saying, like you can't work every day. And so you have to have boundaries with yourself, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
you are not doing that, even though you could be doing it. You need to go have a seat and read a book, right? Something else. And it's having boundaries with other people and knowing that they may not like your boundaries and learning to
Mm.
be okay with that because everyone's not
Yes.
okay with you saying no to them.
They sure aren't. Let me tell you, because some people like they expect you, like they really expect you to just be there, like all the time, and then you're like, oh, like I can't do it, like
Yep.
physically, I can't do it. I need this moment for myself
Yep.
because that's the thing about time off. When we take the time off, we come back better.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and you're right. Like people do not appreciate you telling them no, but you are responsible for you. And if you allow other people to run you ragged, it's
They will.
partially your fault. Like, you have done it. Like, you said yes. Like, unless you're a child and you're being
Yeah.
dragged around by your mama, like, you have a will and you can say no.
Listen, that we gotta really just get on that thing about that no. There's the power of no. Like,
Yes,
no, I can't do that today.
I
Or
know.
just knowing, like even with like tools like Calendly, they're so helpful
Yes.
because you can say, like if y'all are content creators or whoever you are out there, Calendly, that's been really cool because you can have those buffers.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm not talking to nobody for half an hour before this and a half an hour after this.
Yep.
And you gotta give me 1 day notice before you schedule something. Or I'm
Absolutely.
only gonna have 2 meetings a day.
Yeah,
Stuff
I
like
know.
that. It's just
Yeah.
really helpful.
That is a very helpful boundary tool. Yeah. And you don't even have to tell anybody that. You can just send them the link.
Right. And then they just see all your beautiful availability.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. That's totally true. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because it, like I'm glad that somebody thought about that, and more of these apps and things need to be thinking along those lines too. Because it's
Mhm.
like if you're going to be like a tool to help us, you gotta help us. Like, hey,
Right.
let's set some boundaries. Like, I love how they do on some of these apps now. They be like, listen, you've been on here for 30 minutes. You want
Right.
to take a break? I'll be like, oh, y'all better tell me about myself.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's
I
so
know. I
true.
have an app that's I think it's called Lock Me Out. And it literally you can pick what apps like at 9 p.m. I get locked out of all kinds of stuff and I can't
Oh,
get back in until the next morning at 8 a.m. because I
whoa,
know that I'll wind up,
scrolling.
doom scrolling, right? And that's not good for me. So I have set myself up a boundary. I said, this is not something I need to be doing, nor after I do it. I mean, when I'm doing it, sure, I want to do it, but afterward, I'm just kind of miserable about it. So,
Right.
you know, yes, there are apps out there that can help you set up your own boundaries if you need some help.
Yes, it's really something though. It really is something. Like we have to
Mhm.
learn to harness these tools to our advantage, not let them overrun us.
Yes.
And just like it's so much that we can talk about this. We can talk about time management forever.
Right?
Like this is the big thing that
Mhm.
everybody I feel like struggles so much, no matter who you are. It's
Absolutely.
like whether it's getting up in the morning. Oh, I'm not a morning person. Whether it's just all the things, just trying to
Mhm.
juggle all the things. Like you're a mom, your wife, and me with the caregiving. It's just like, oh, how do I do all the things and then still have room for me?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
that's the other thing. So how are you, I just want to ask that, like, how do you make that time other than, the time you talk about in the morning? Do
Yeah.
you like, you make little, take little moments to just like step away and just go hang out with friends and stuff? How do you tackle that?
We do. So we have a really good church community, which,
Mm-hmm.
community is really important. And we talked about that earlier. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do a lot of, not a lot, I do a decent amount of like play dates. We get together, we hang out.
Oh.
And so my kids are, not my kids, I have one. The kids,
Mm-hmm.
plural, they're hanging out, but I'm also spending this time, that's quality time with other mothers, and that's really helpful. We also have a gym that we go to here, and it has play care. So in our
Oh.
membership, I can bring him there while I'm working out, and that's super helpful for me mentally.
Oh.
And then with my husband, occasionally I'll go out with some friends and we'll go to dinner or something. And so like my son stays with his dad, and then vice versa. So like he'll go golfing or something occasionally, and I'll keep our son by myself just so we can continue to do things that are just for us as well. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, which was communication and telling people what you need, and knowing that. And if you are a single mom or a single caregiver of that kind of sort, like being in a community of people that love you and be willing to step in for you is a big deal.
Oh,
Um,
child.
yeah, I'm sure
Mm.
you know. Hmm.
Man, when I tell you, it is nothing like having that respite time. It
Hmm.
will just really just refuel your soul.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
It is really important. Like I like before my dad had got back, like we had a chance to have some respite for a while. And before he got back, I took myself on a nice solo date to the movies.
I like it. Yeah.
Yes, and I was like, "Listen," that was like my first time. Like full disclosure, that was my first time going to movies by myself. I was like, because that's another thing, like you said, with your spouse. Like sometimes you like doing things, but then other people don't like it. So don't wait.
Yeah.
Go do it. So make that time to go do
Absolutely.
something by yourself. That's okay too.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know if it's a caveat. We're gonna say it. A caveat to that, right? So when you
Mhm.
get that time by yourself, make sure you're doing something that actually fills you up. Don't waste that time that you get that's
Okay.
precious, right? Because you could do something that's totally mind numbing and worthless and whatever, and you will not feel refreshed after that. But you know yourself, and you know the things that you do that make you feel rested. So
Mm.
make sure whenever you do get that time that you're doing those things.
Yes, that's important too because I like what you said about that because I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Anita, but I love her. And she talks about how there are different kinds of rest. So, typically when we think of rest, we think about laying down,
Yeah.
but it could be spiritual rest, emotional, mental, social rest. So
Mhm.
like when you get out with your friends, that's your social rest, right?
Yeah.
So that's pivotal that we do find those ways. And listen, I don't know if you saw the Forge yet. Shameless plug, but I
Mhm.
I really enjoyed the Forge, and so it was just good. Just get
Yeah.
away, just look at the movie for 2 hours and not worry about something, So we have to really lean into that.
Mhm.
As nurturers, we have to really do that because if we don't make a concerted effort, it won't happen.
That's absolutely true. Yes. Yeah. That's good. Mhm.
Yes, we really have to. So, if you could plant a seed for the listeners, if you would like, just tell them something, that one little thing that they could take away for this entire conversation about time management, what would you want them to remember if they just could remember one thing?
I want them to remember that they don't have to be perfect when they start, but they should start anyway and be willing to keep going.
Yes. That is a hindrance sometimes to growth and just learning new habits and having new disciplines is you think you have to be perfect, but just keep going like you say, those baby steps, that still
Mhm.
counts,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
We have
Anything
to.
forward is still forward.
Oh, I
Like,
love that.
yep.
Yes. So, how do you have any like projects going on, any events that you would like to share?
So I just started a group coaching. thing.
Mhm.
It is called the Peaceful Mom Collective, and
Mhm.
so it's an 8-week group coaching. We just started our first one, and but if anybody is interested,
Mhm.
we'll totally be doing another one. So just get onto Instagram. So you have that, and reach out to me, and I'll tell you all about it.
Yes. So remind us one more time where we can connect with you.
So Instagram is the best place. It's just Aliese_Halcomb. And that is where I post. That's where I like to hang out. So that's the best place to find me.
Yes. So I'm just gonna repeat that one more again. You can catch up with Aliese on Instagram at Aliese
Mhm.
underscore Halcomb. For those of you who are listening, um, it's on the screen if you watch the YouTube version.
Right.
So just wanted to make y'all aware that whether you're
Mhm.
listening or watching, the information is always on the screen and also in the description as well. Now, if y'all are watching, make sure that y'all give this episode a like, a subscribe, a comment, or a share if y'all like content like this. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure to take the poll and leave a review or a rating or a comment. Let us know what you think about this episode. And be sure to follow me at BChannel27 on all social media platforms. Thank you so much, Aliese, for taking the time
Yeah.
to join me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for watching, audience. And make sure, like I said, y'all like, comment, subscribe, share, tell somebody, leave a review or rating. Let us know what you think about this episode. And just thank you so much for tuning in. And peace and blessings. Until next time.